Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending a few minutes with me. Today will probably be a little bit more than a few minutes. Today I would like to share with you my journey and my experience after having open heart surgery and surviving that procedure. So let me start by giving you a little bit of history. So growing up, I always had anxiety. So I had panic attacks growing up. They started around the time of my grandfather's death. There were many stressful incidents that happened during that time. My grandfather was my very best friend, and we were both dreaming of me turning 16, and I would get to officially drive his Cadillac. So he passed away just before my 16th birthday, and his death triggered, unfortunately, a number of other stressful events in my life. So I had my first massive panic attack. I think I was 15, and my parents took me to the hospital, and they did all these tests, and they figured out that it was just anxiety. So I have lived with panic attacks my whole life. I also have suffered TIA, which is a mini stroke, when Alex was little. Alex's dad, who was extremely abusive and kicked me out while I was pregnant with Alex, then turned around and asked for full custody of Alex, even though he had never seen him. So that was a stressful event, which led to me having a TIA, which is a mini stroke. Then fast forward August of 2019, I had my widowmaker heart attack, and they found at that time that my LAD, which is your main descending artery, was 99.9% blocked, and I should have died during that heart attack. But I was hospitalized. They put some stent in at that time, and then I had a couple of other procedures to have more stents put in because I still wasn't feeling well. Fast forward to July of this past year, which is what I want to share with you. So I was hospitalized in June last year, 2021, for anxiety because I had no idea where my daughter was. She was taken out of state without my knowledge and without my permission, which triggered a massive panic attack, and I was hospitalized at that point. And during that hospitalization, because obviously I was having chest pain, they did another heart catheterization, and at that time they found that the stents that had been placed previously were pretty much useless and almost completely blocked. I had very little function left in those stents, and my cardiologist at the time basically said, you need open heart surgery and you need it now. So I really wasn't given any time to process that. I definitely wasn't given my weeks and weeks and weeks notice to do my research and figure out what was going to happen to me and all of those things, which looking back now was probably a godsend, because if I knew now what I knew then, I would never have let him do the surgery. So I spent the July 4th weekend in the hospital last year awaiting open heart surgery because they were concerned that I could just die at any moment. So they wanted to keep me in the hospital to make sure that if anything were to go wrong, I would be already in the hospital over that weekend, just in case. So July 6th, which is a year ago today, I had my open heart surgery. And in the world of open heart surgery survivors, we call that our heart anniversary. So every year we'll have a birthday, we'll also have a heart anniversary where our heart was stopped and we had massive repair done or whatever. So that today is my heart anniversary. So today I thought this would be an appropriate day to share with you my experience with open heart surgery. I need to preface this with saying that this is my experience, while I have now had the privilege of meeting many different OHS survivors. It's not my place to share their stories. It's my place to share my story. So that's what this channel is about, and that's what I want to share with you today. So I'm not going to give you the big long story. I'm going to give you the short and sweet, good, the bad, the ugly of open heart surgery for me, from my perspective. So the good, open heart surgery saves lives. That's, you know, the be all and the end all, right? So without the surgery, it's quite possible I wouldn't be here today. On the flip side, we have the bad and the ugly. And those are things that I don't feel like are covered and talked about anywhere near enough. So prior to open heart surgery, my quality of life was very low. I was having difficulty doing basic household tasks. So like sweeping the floor, mopping the floor, cleaning, all of those things that needed to get done every day were almost impossible for me because I didn't have enough oxygen getting to all the parts of my body I needed to. So I understand why my cardiologist said that this was basically the only option. However, my cardiologist told me at the time, I think I had maybe 9 days notice, approximately between 1 and 2 weeks notice I had that we were going to do this surgery. So my cardiologist had said to me, oh, 70-year-olds have this surgery all the time and they do great. So you're in your early 40s, you'll be running marathons within a month. And I really honestly thought, you know, oh, that must be the case, right? He's a specialist. Okay, so fast forward to July 6th. It's time to be wheeled back into surgery. I said goodbye to my mom and my dad on the way into the operating room. And I was assured that when I woke up, my mom and my dad would still be there. And they would be the first faces that I saw when I woke up. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I woke up from the surgery around, I think it was like 3 or 4 in the morning on the 7th. And I woke up alone in a recovery room with the ventilator still in place. And I don't know about you, but that ventilator is one of the worst experiences that anyone can go through, I believe. To wake up on a ventilator and the ventilator is basically breathing for you, so any attempt that you make to breathe, to inhale on your own, it stifles that and you feel like you are drowning. So I woke up in a dark room, unable to breathe, feeling like I was dying and choking and drowning, and I couldn't speak because the ventilator was in. So I was tied down to the bed, and I managed to flap my hand enough to bang on the bed, which alerted a nurse to come running in. But I can tell you that those moments of panic when I first woke up after my open heart surgery, they have caused permanent traumatic damage to me personally. I read an article that stated 1 in every 8 open heart surgery patients develop PTSD, and I am one of those 1 in 8. I still have nightmares routinely of waking up with that terror, and I am much less able to cope with many situations because of that experience. So my parents had been told that they were not allowed to stay after I went in. And I really don't know if the surgery took longer than they thought. I don't know what the problem was, but my parents were told they were not allowed to stay, so I woke up alone. I don't know. I assume that the nurses, after they rushed in, gave me something to sedate me again. So I don't know how long it was before I woke up again, but that when I woke up the second time, the ventilator had been removed and I could breathe kind of normally as you can, with a tube still stuck in your neck and a huge incision down your chest and 3 tubes sticking out of your chest underneath the incision. So basically you can't move. The pain is unbearable, and yeah, so here you are. And so I spent 4 or 5 days in the hospital, and those days were not fun by any means. Having the tubes removed from my body was excruciating. The whole process was just basically hell on earth. So, okay, so fast forward now, we're at 5 days. I come home, and even when I was coming home, I really already was struggling to find the purpose of having gone through all of this. So I really thought that my lack of ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel was due to the extreme pain that I was in, and then it would get better and it would go away. So I can tell you today, 1 year later, that is not the case. It has not gone away. I still struggle routinely with the feelings of, wouldn't it have been better if I just had not survived that surgery? And I can tell you, like I said, this is my story, but I can tell you I am a part of a group that has literally thousands and thousands of open heart surgery patients, and I don't know that a day goes by without at least one person posting that sentiment. So it's definitely not something that's unique to me, but it has been my experience that many people that survive this procedure feel that way. So complications is the next topic I want to cover. So my cardiologist said, you'll go in, you'll have the surgery, you'll be running marathons in a month. Okay. So within, I think just a little bit over a week of the surgery, I had to call an ambulance because I could not breathe. I was taken by ambulance to the hospital where I was put through all kinds of excruciating tests, and they finally decided that fluid was building up in my lungs as a result of the surgery, and they kept me overnight for observation, and then they sent me home with a drug that helps your body get rid of that excess fluid. So I was on that for maybe a week at that point, and I still did not feel any better. I still felt that drowning sensation that I wasn't, even though I was desperately trying to get air into my lungs, that it just wasn't enough air. And I can say that I had home health coming in a couple of times a week, and they were monitoring my oxygen as well, and they also noticed that my oxygen levels were not what they should be, and they were making phone calls to both my surgeon and my cardiologist. And I think that, I don't know, but I really felt like nobody was taking me seriously. And so those weeks it turned into, and then months, as you'll hear later, of not being able to breathe and fighting in the panic of not knowing if the next breath was going to come or not, is a really real side effect and complication of open heart surgery. So I was hospitalized after that first week. Then I went another almost 2 weeks, and I finally was given an appointment with my surgeon that did the surgery. And at that point they said, I guess you better go back to the hospital. So I was hospitalized again at that point, and they found that the fluid was filling up quite a bit in my lungs, and they felt the only option at that point was to go in and do a procedure to drain the fluid. If you do not drain the fluid off of your lungs can collapse, and that will become an emergency situation. And obviously that could result in death. So once again, I kind of felt like my back was up against a wall, and I had no choice but to let them do this procedure. This procedure is not a fun procedure. It's not a simple, oh, you're going to get a shot, we're going to give you a needle, and we're going to withdraw this fluid. Okay, that is not the case. They're going in through the back of your rib cage, and they have to be so precise and careful so they don't puncture your lung. So you are given a local anesthetic to get the needle in, but that does nothing for all of your insides where they're trying to guide that needle to get to the spot that has all the fluid. So you are feeling every ounce of pain associated with that. And while you're feeling all that pain, you're being told to stay still and not move. So the first procedure they did to drain the fluid, they drained off quite a bit of fluid. And I was sent home after that procedure. After a day, I was sent home, and I was given a couple of days worth of that fluid reducing medication. So I came home and tried to recover and tried to start rehab at home with home health. But home health and myself were still noticing that I was still struggling to breathe, and my oxygen was routinely falling below a safe level. So that was still being documented, and calls were still going to my cardiologist. It ended up, I think a couple of weeks went by again, and I ended up back in the hospital again because my oxygen kept falling. And so this is my third hospitalization now. They found more fluid on my lungs, and they drained again. This time there was less fluid, and because there was less fluid, the procedure was even more agonizing. Crazy, crazy painful. I have given birth to 2 children without so much as an aspirin. I've done that twice. Second time I was induced. So I'm not a wimpy girl, and the pain of that procedure was worse than giving birth. I would give birth again naturally before I let them do that procedure again. So during the second time they drained the fluid, I vowed that I would never do that again. If it cost me my life, there's no way I would let them do that again. I didn't care. So fast forward, during that hospital stay, I contracted COVID. So now I'm struggling to breathe already. I still have all of this scars and pain. My sternum, they break open all of your rib cage. So my sternum is still trying to heal, crazy painful. And now I have COVID on top of it. And I knew that if I went back to the hospital, once I was diagnosed with COVID, that they would put me back on a ventilator and I would probably die. So I fought tooth and nail to stay at home, and I did not go to the hospital at all during COVID, even though there were many times when I probably could have benefited from medical services. Anyway, so COVID took a good month, if not more, to recover from. So now that puts our timeline. I had surgery in the beginning of July, and now we're in October, recovering, just starting to recover from COVID. So I continued with the home health rehab that they were giving me. I was doing the exercises, I was walking, I was trying to do the best I could, and I still was not getting my energy back. I was still not breathing well, and everyone just kept saying, oh, it's COVID, it's going to take time, don't worry about it. So kind of at my wit's end, just after Thanksgiving, I signed up for the Home Rehabilitation Network. And they are the ones that literally, I believe, saved my life. Because without them, I still would not be able to walk. Right now, I walk sometimes 3 and 4 miles a day. But I would never have been able to do that without them. So I really, really, really am super grateful for the Home Rehabilitation Network. So they're a rehab network that is done over Zoom. They send you the equipment that you need. Some of it you can purchase on your own through Amazon, super simple stuff. But I would not feel as good physically as I do today without them. So a huge shout out to them. Alex and Melanie spent so much time and energy to make me a more physically sound person. So that's all the physical parts of open heart surgery. What is not discussed is the mental part of open heart surgery. So 1 in 8 have PTSD from this surgery. Another 60% of open heart surgery patients will have mental health issues, and not just short-term mental health issues, long-term mental health issues. Many survivors that I have met and talked with struggle with mental health. When you wake up from open heart surgery, for me at least, I woke up and I was a completely different person. So it's very difficult to regulate your emotions. Some days you feel crazy angry for no reason. Sometimes you feel unbelievable sadness, which appears to be for no reason. And that is hard to deal with. So I was put on mood stabilizing medication right after my open heart surgery, and I have taken that religiously up until about a month ago. And there are days now that I can tell you that I probably could benefit from being on them again. Anyway, so that's the main thing that I want to stress, that open heart surgery is not a walk in the park. Yes, it saves lives, but the complications and the aftermath of open heart surgery is not something that people get over typically in a week or 2 weeks. And it has been my experience that some people are struggling years, plural, years later to live a normal life. I can tell you that I have not been able to return to work. Before my heart attack, at the time of my heart attack, I was working 3 jobs to be able to make ends meet. And now I work a couple of hours and I am exhausted mentally and unable to continue teaching. So I need a break. So I still am trying to work, but nowhere near the level that a normal person would be able to work. So there's that. I have also noticed a big difference and a big decline in my eyesight, which I have researched and found that many people notice changes in their eyesight and a decrease in vision after open heart surgery, and I have experienced that. Reading a book is much more challenging. Even I have, fine prescription, but it's really difficult unless the words are larger for me to focus on them for a long period of time. So I tend to read on my Kindle now, where I can enlarge the print rather than reading books. So, what's my takeaway? My takeaway is that if you asked me today on my Heartiversary, 1 year later, if I would do this all over again, I would tell you a big resounding heck no. There's no way that I would wish this on my worst enemy. For me, I think it would have been better to have lived whatever amount of time I had left, rather than this struggle that goes on day after day after day. So thankfully, I have my beliefs in a creator, in a higher power, a God that loves me and has a plan for my life and has a purpose for all of this suffering. And that is the main thing that keeps me going. And I can tell you that there are many days that it takes everything in me to hold tight to that belief, to not give in to the despair and the depression that I feel as a result of this surgery. Another thing that I will say is that I'm super, super thankful for all of you that take the time to watch these videos, and especially people that leave comments, because they really, really mean everything to me. So I could be having a really, really crappy day and really wondering why I even do this and why I even bother to try to wake up in the morning, and then I'll see a comment from one of you on these videos, and I'll know that at least this pain and this journey has not been for nothing. So I really, really want to say a huge thank you to all of you, and if you have managed to watch this entire video, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was really important to me to share this part of my story. I know there are so many people out there that are struggling after open heart surgery. So for someone to say, it's just a surgery, right? It's not just a surgery. This is a life-changing, life-altering procedure that is done, and it can take years to recover from. So I just wanted to share my story with all of you in the hopes that it will be helpful in some way. And again, I thank you all so much for your love and your support. It really does mean the world to me. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye for now.